Well, the governor of the Bank of Canada says there is a lot of uncertainty around how artificial intelligence could affect the economy moving forward. Tiff Macklem says the central bank is trying to get a better understanding of how AI could affect, say, inflation. He says the current investment in the technology is adding to demand, and that could be inflationary. But its long-term effects on labor productivity, living standards, and employment are unclear. Joining me now is Carmi Levy, our tech analyst. Carmi, thanks as always for joining us.
Great to be with you, Roger. Thanks for having me.
It's interesting that we have the Bank of Canada looking at AI and the impact it will have on the economy. Are we approaching? I'm trying to remember what it was from Schwarzenegger's movies. Yeah, the singularity, or the robots and the machines have taken over.
I don't think we are, but I think this is an important milestone all the same. I mean, I was kind of wondering what was taking them so long. You have the very epicenter of fiscal policy in this country, and they've been fairly quiet about AI for the past almost 2 years. That moment where ChatGPT was first released to the public in late 2022, that was when it really sort of hit our radar, and everyone started not only talking about it, but rolling up their sleeves and playing with the tools and figuring out how it would affect their lives, their businesses, society in general. And so I would have hoped that the central bank would have had some kind of official comment earlier than now. We shouldn't have to flail for a couple of years before our policymakers weigh in. But I'm glad that Mr. Macklem finally did. And I think he's asking the right questions. He's trying to set expectations. We really don't know how AI is going to rewrite the rules. We don't know if it's going to wipe out jobs completely, or if it's going to create more jobs than it eliminates, or will it shift the workforce toward more productive kinds of workflows? And so, he's kind of pointing us in the right direction, trying to set expectations, but at the same time, he's asking a lot of questions, but not giving us as many answers as we need. I would look toward him and his team to really quarterback that process, and I didn't really get a sense that that was happening in this speech.
Has any other federal bank or government taken a closer look at the impact?
Well, that's the thing. Everyone's got a different sort of approach and opinion. You're seeing a lot of initiatives now working at cross purposes to each other. Probably the one at the top of the heap is the law that the federal government introduced last year to regulate artificial intelligence in Canada. It's under Bill C-27, the updates to the Privacy Act. That part of it is known as the AI and Data Act, and it's still working its way through the House of Commons. That, in theory, should be the framework that everyone else sort of follows, uses as a guide as they figure out their own pieces of the puzzle and slot them in. But we really don't have a central effort to make that happen. And quite frankly, you're looking at the law as it is now, it is incomplete. It really doesn't have a whole lot of enforcement or consequences associated with non-compliance. So we're moving in the right direction, but we still don't have one single voice kind of pulling everyone together. And I think the central bank really could be that voice, really could pull it together. And that really isn't happening at this point. So I'm kind of hoping it does. Maybe this is just the first step.
Now, revolutions like the Industrial Revolution, agriculture, there's always been fear of jobs lost, but they tend to create more jobs. Is this the one time, though, we could be looking at something that actually doesn't create more jobs?
I'm really hoping not. And I think the problem here is yeah, exactly. I'm looking at my own job. I want to keep it. But we're so early in AI that we just don't know. And unlike earlier technology revolutions, AI's adoption curve and progression curve, it's so steep, much steeper than previous tech revolutions that we've seen. So there are more unknowns than knowns. And so we know it'll be disruptive like any new technology is. What we don't know is precisely what that impact will be. And I think the early reports that we're seeing speaks to what's vulnerable. So we know what jobs are going to sort of fall under that shadow of AI, but we still haven't seen reports that suggest what will be created in its wake, because we just don't know at this point. So we kind of have to take it on faith that things will be better than they are. Those dystopian headlines, not quite as frightening as they seem to be. We just have to wait to get further down the line where we have better visibility. But again, organizations like the central bank, they can drive this process if they want to.
Okay, fingers crossed. Carmi, thank you as always.
Thanks, Roger.
Carmi Levy is our tech analyst.